Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So as you can see by the title, today I will be talking about Umar Johnson and his meltdown and lies that he put out on the Lord Jamar podcast. Now, let me tell you, I am not really a fan of Lord Jamar. I think he was kind of pulling an Umar Johnson when he was talking about Vlad TV that Umar pulled in this interview, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Now, the same guilt-tripping tactics that Umar Johnson did in this interview, I should say, is the same thing Lord Jamar and Godfrey tried to do after, they separated themselves from DJ Vlad. So that's something I want to touch on now. But in this interview, I think that Lord Jamar pressed him with the hard questions, and as usual, Umar Johnson deflected. Umar Johnson did a lot of guilt-tripping and shaming tactics. Umar Johnson, and I don't call him Dr. Umar Johnson, and I think we need to drop that title from him. I don't believe he's really a doctor, to be honest. Aside from that, I just think the doctor is more so of a stage name rather than it is. He's just as much of a doctor as Dr. Dre. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, in this interview, I just wanted to point out the lies and the meltdown and the hypocrisies that I see within Umar Johnson. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
All right, so you started getting the money, started getting donations. From what I understand, you raised about $750,000. Yes.
Well said.
$750,000. About 20 months ago, you end up purchasing 2 buildings. Yes.
4 buildings.
4 buildings. Okay.
I honestly don't believe he purchased 4 buildings. I think that's just a grandiose number he comes up with to make himself feel like he's doing something. And the problem I have with Umar is his grandiosity. He has this grandiose view of himself, and he's been pushing that out for a long time. People have also coined him as arrogant for the longest time, and I see that more and more. And we're going to see that more in this interview. So, but yeah, I don't believe he has 4 buildings. I personally don't believe that run-down abandoned trap house building in Wilmington, Delaware, I feel like that's just a cover-up for something. I feel like he pretends to own it. I mean, even if he does have the building, because there's back taxes on it, but I don't know. This man, I feel like Lennon Honor says, is a pathological liar, and it's just like he can't stop lying.
2 schools, 4 buildings.
2 schools, 4 buildings for $400,000.
It was more than that.
Okay. Well, how much? Everybody wants to know, where's the extra money? Where'd the extra money go?
Here we go into this.
And why is it taking so long to open this school? Like people feel like, and I'm not just going to say people found, because I'm also going to share a story with you as well. But people feel like, the time that 6 years is just
10 years. 10 years.
Money. You know what I mean? And to finally get the building that you ended up getting that are in disrepair and all of that. And I think it's the transparency that people are looking for.
Exactly.
A lot of people are looking for you to be more transparent, and when they don't see this transparency, it makes them feel, skeptical.
Of course.
Okay. Let me speak to some of that.
Here we go.
Okay. Number 1, I'm transparent with my donors.
There we go. He's not actually transparent with his donors, because there was a guy by the name of C-Rock Smooth. Not even C-Rock Smooth. Hold on. There was a guy, and he's on YouTube by the name of Real GS TV2, and he says that he's donated to the man. And he, I think, is a repeat donor, and he's donated to the man, and he can't even get into contact with Umar. Umar says that he's transparent with his donors, but he's not, because there were people, like some people who are coming out on YouTube and exposing him. There are people on YouTube who have been donors or who are considering being donors, and they've asked him the questions about, the nooks and crannies and the transparency. And of course, Umar likes to deflect. He likes to, guilt trip and shame by saying, oh, you don't ask all these other people, and he says that in this interview, you don't ask all these other people about transparency, you don't ask those rappers what they do with the money for, our ticket sales when we buy their tickets. Yeah, but the thing is, when we buy a ticket to a concert, 9 times out of 10 we get a show, we get what we paid for, and if we don't, most likely they're going to refund tickets, or they could be slapped with a lawsuit. Okay, Umar? See, that's the problem with Umar. He gives me Jim Jones vibes, okay? Cult leader vibes. Don't question him on anything he doesn't want you to know. Don't question him. Oh, you're not a real supporter. Remember a few months ago or a few weeks ago, he was saying, well, you're not a real supporter. You're not a supporter if you're not a donor. He started that, and he mentions this in the interview again. He started the quote-unquote loyal donors club, which really is just, I just want people who are just going to consistently give me money. At this point, it's not about the school. The man is just sitting here begging for money. At this point, like I said, this man, I believe is homeless. He's allegedly on drugs. Okay, I think he's definitely living out of his car. He's squatting in that abandoned trap house building. He wants to convince everyone it's a school. This man is desperate and destitute, and he's trying to scrape up whatever cash he can. And I personally think if he scrapes up enough money, he's probably going to flee the country and move to somewhere in Africa, because he's always dropped hints that he's moving, to Africa. Sounds like Jim Jones when he said, okay, I have to pack up all this stuff, cash out as much as I can, run away from, accountability of the U.S. law, and move to another country. I get really Jim Jones vibes from this guy.
Told that there, people say when your actual donors will ask certain things,
that's
they
a lie.
say
That is
he
not
will
true.
sometimes block them and all.
Yes, he will.
That is not true. Those are not donors. Those are haters.
Look at that. I have to ask this question. For anyone out there who was a former Umar supporter or who is a donor currently or has been a donor in the past, I think Psyched Perspective is one. Shout out to Psyched Perspective. I just want to know, what was your experience if you were a donor, if you were a person considering donating, or if you are a current donor, and if you have asked Umar the questions about transparency? I want to know, put that in the comments below. How long have you donated? How much have you donated? When did you donate? And how long has it been since you donated if you were a past donor? I just want to know from donors, current, former, and people who have considered donating in the past or present day. What is your experience when and if you asked Umar any of the questions about expected time of arrival for the school, the time frame, the transparency? What did he do, and what was his response to you, if you had a response at all?
Have direct access to me. I talk to them. I know who they are. Most of them are repeat donors. My donors range everywhere from Black professionals. I have lawyers. I have engineers. I have business owners, all the way down to the retired great-grandma who's sending me $10 a month because she wants to see this plan come to fruition.
Is that the same great-grandmother, Umar, that sent you $10 and you were ungrateful and said, oh, thanks for that 10, next time make it 20? Is that the same great-grandma you're talking about who sends $10? Is that the one?
Haters don't donate, donors don't hate.
So blind cult followers, right? See, Loyal Donors Club is just another word, in my opinion, for blind cult followers, sheeple in his cult. At this point, it's just a cult. And he blinds you by saying this is a great cause for Black boys. Trust me, this is coming from a former supporter who found out about him in 2014, 2015. And I found out about him through Hidden Colors 3. And he was the one that stood out to me. Okay, first of all, I didn't know who he was before Hidden Colors, okay? And the person that stood out to me before him was actually Nas. So I thought it was really cool to see a celebrity like Nas in something like a Hidden Colors. That's who really stood out to me in that. So I'm like, oh, it's so cool to see a celebrity like Nas, talking about this. I didn't know who Umar was until I saw Hidden Colors. So, and this man, again, his grandiose view of himself. Oh, I'm the best. People knew me. Once I got on the scene, everybody knew me. Everybody should know me. And he goes off in this interview again, showing his grandiosity. You'll hear that a little bit later.
I want to be very clear about that. It's only to those who donate. So people who ask random questions, they'll never get answers because you don't support this.
See, that's the thing.
Now, with that,
the guilt and shaming tactic of you're not real if you don't give me money. That's just basically what it is.
That being said, let me also say this. The other question that you ask, which is often asked, is 6 years, you don't have the school yet.
10.
I'm not to blame for that. The community is to blame for that.
Oh!
I cannot manifest the school out of thin air.
Wow!
Schools cost money.
Look how he goes and blames the community. He did that last year. Remember? Well, not last year. He did that a few years ago when he said PayPal cut him off, and he said, oh, PayPal cut us off. PayPal sabotaged us, y'all. He said that. He said that, oh, PayPal sabotaged us, but the reason I couldn't do this way, or the reason I couldn't do an electronic order is because lazy Negroes didn't want to do a money order. He goes again blaming the community for his shortcomings and his setbacks. Not the fact that he's unorganized, not the fact that he doesn't really have a team, despite what he claims. Not the fact that, you know, he's a bad businessman, he's just straight up scamming people. It's our fault. It's all our fault. See, funny how he went from back in the day going to blaming white folks and white supremacy and everybody else for, you know, the problems that the black community is facing and no, specifically his problems as a black man. And granted, look, other communities as well as us play a part in the reason we are stuck in this predicament that we're in. I'm just saying. So there's accountability to go around is what I'm trying to say.
They're not houses. They're commercial property. But because we're not used to building things,
condescension. Look at that.
Black dollars,
look at this.
You don't understand how long it takes to get that done. I'm not a
doesn't take 10 years.
I'm not a public
doesn't
school.
have to take 10
My
years.
school isn't going to subsist on white handouts and government funding. My school is Grassroots Pan-African Academy.
I have to call that out, Umar. I know it seems like I'm pausing a lot, but there's so much to break down here. The problem I have with that thinking, because as I mentioned back in my old Umar videos about the school, is because even B Code said this a few years ago. You're saying you don't want any government involvement, and I can understand that. But you have to realize that in some way, shape, or form, you may have to deal with the government. You're talking about the IRS. That's the government. You have to pay some type of taxes on that. Unless it's like a church, you have to pay some type of tax on it, and you lost your tax exempt status as we found out, okay? Also, you say from B Code mentioned this a few years ago, you claimed that you wanted to take in all these homeless and foster black children that you can say that you would offer, you know, some sort of sanctuary in your school when you claimed it was going to be a residential school. But you're going to have to go through some government type of paperwork, especially when you're dealing with the foster care system and you know, adoption and all that. And trust me, I've been to college. I've been on campus. I've dormed on a college campus, and, you know, when doing that FAFSA for, you know, the financial aid, or when, you know, going through a college process with the paperwork, they will ask you questions like, oh, have you been homeless throughout the, you know, this past year? Are you like a veteran or something? So you will have to go through some form of government involvement in some way, shape, or form. And I said, this is why I feel like he's trying to cash out and move to Africa, because he's always claimed he's going to start something in Africa, right? But I personally think he's just going to take the money and run. I personally feel like this is not going to be feasible. And I feel like, bro, if you're going to really separate yourself or try to, eradicate yourself from any form of government involvement, if you really don't want government involvement, you're either going to have to go again to another country or go off the grid. And even if you do go to another country, you're going to have to abide by some form of their laws, their rules as well. So you're not completely free from government involvement.
So it'll take as long as it takes until we raise the money to achieve the goal. It is that simple. Why the school ain't up yet? Because we're not raising enough money. But guess who don't have to ask those questions?
Here we go.
The owner of Quaker Grits.
Deflection tactic. Deflection tactics.
You have to ask that question. Nike and Air Jordan.
Deflection.
Give them $4 billion, $2 billion a year.
Deflection tactics.
$4 billion a year. Weave, perm, and beauty products, $30 billion a year. Fast food, $1 billion a year. They don't have to ask the Europeans and the Jews and the Chinese and the Arabs. They don't have to ask how long it's going to take them to get that Negro money. We give it freely. But when one of our own steps,
deflection tactics. Deflection tactics.
The credentials and the resume to do something like build a.
Okay, first of all, here's where he lied. Bro, we've been asking for credentials and resumes and all that, and we've barely gotten anything. We've barely gotten anything, okay? Now, here's what I hate, how he uses truth as a deflection tactic. Yes, Black people, we do spend our money with other people, other communities, and, you know, we contribute to their wealth and, you know, the circulation of their dollars, and they can keep their money circulating in their community longer than we do, because it's been, like, statistically, it's been shown that we spend our circulation of our dollars in our own neighborhoods is only 6 hours. And I see more and more that that's changing, which is why I think it's important for us to support, to buy from, to create, to build Black businesses and institutions and economies and stuff, and keep that money circulating, you know, in our community, and generational wealth. I think that's important. However, don't fall for what this man is saying. See, the difference between, you know, the Quaker Oats and, you know, the hair and beauty supply and, you know, the fast food, at least when we pay, especially for a physical product, we get a physical product in return. 9 times out of 10, we don't have to question where our money's going, because we get what we pay for. But I do say this, and I will say this, I do think it is important for us to support and buy and, you know, build Black-owned businesses, and to support each other and everything like that. And I do think that, and first of all, these are kind of tired arguments. He goes back to these truth as deflection tactics in these tired arguments to basically, it's basically not a generalizing of the need to support Black business. It's basically used as a tactic to say, oh no, you guys need to give me more money. That's just really what it is. So I don't want new people, old people, or Black people to fall for this BS. This is truth as a deflection that he likes to use. And he did this in 2016 when he came back with that fake apology, you know, after going on that rant to SETI. Oh, well, you quit Papa over an hour, but you didn't quit Team Walmart. You didn't quit Team Chinese food. You didn't quit Team all these other, you know, you didn't quit Team McDonald's. You didn't quit all these other places that, you know, are, you know, problematic and racist towards these communities. And yes, Black people, let's be real. I'm going to say this. We got mad at them for a minute, and then we eventually went back to supporting them. I mean, seriously. H&M did that sweatshirt scandal, that whole controversy that came out with H&M, you know, the coolest monkey in the jungle thing. But eventually, and we got mad, we claimed to boycott and only support Black-owned, but then we eventually went back to H&M. Let's just be honest. We got mad at Gucci, but your favorite celebs, even if they called for a boycott, still went back and silently and now proudly and loudly support Gucci. So let's just be honest. So I do agree that we're kind of hesitant when it comes to us, but, you know, even if we claim to cancel certain people and certain brands, they still do fine, or we still go back to eventually supporting them. Come on now. We have to do better on that front. But don't fall for this man, because this guy has been scamming for 10 years. Some say Conscious Energy came out with a video saying probably 15 years. But this man wants to guilt trip you and shame you with, oh, we support everybody else and we send all the Arab and the Chinese and the this, that, and the third to college. But the difference between when we shop at their places, we get a physical product in return. So what is he talking about? People have been donating for years on end, whether they're new or old, and they're trying to find out where their money's going. They're trying to ask for transparency, and all they do, they get blocked, cussed out, they get told they're haters, they're not real supporters. Same thing Jim Jones did. Same thing some of these evil cult leaders did. Don't ask too many questions. Don't ask their questions, especially when they won't tell you the truth. They'll deflect. They'll say, oh, you're not really about the cause. You're not real, da-da-da-da. That's what Umar is doing.
To say Black boys, with the hell that Black boys are catching in this country, we don't support them because, number one, we don't want him to get the credit.
Boy,
number two,
lies.
we don't want the responsibility of doing for self.
Lies.
And number three, you understand, we want to find an excuse to keep on depending on white folks. So that's really the answer to that. But I want to answer your other piece. You said what you can do with the leftover money.
Okay. I do think there is a subset or a segment of people in our community that want to stay reliant on the so-called powers that be to a certain degree, and it kind of varies. And there is some truth in that, but again, don't fall for the truth as deflection tactic. I'm seeing more and more Black people saying we want to do for self and we want to build and we're not trying to be quote unquote reliant. Isn't that why we're trying to start Black businesses and build a Black economy? Rebuild the Black Wall Street whole thing? I think that's a good thing. But this man is full of ish. And this man also, like I said before, this school is not going to be financially reasonable or feasible because this man doesn't really understand the fundamentals of, like, how things work economically in a school, or how things work, financially, or the basic fundamentals of how capitalism and real estate may work, especially as the times change. He thinks he knows everything, and that's the problem. That's the problem with Umar. He thinks he knows everything.
When you open up the interview tonight, I dropped the donation information. I said, get on your Cashapp, $FDMG School. I said, get on your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. I said, mail in your checks or money orders, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. I also said, if you remember, I said, we are running short on the repair money. We don't have it all. We have most of it, but we don't have it all to cover the repairs of the Garvey building. So to me, it is a very common sense question. Something that I don't even think needs to be.
Notice how he talks in circles every time you ask him a deep question. And this is why I really don't understand why people were so mad at the Roland Martin interview back in 2017. And they wanted to call Roland Martin all types of coons and Uncle Toms and this. And I'm saying, no, Roland Martin, the only thing I saw in that was probably like bad or the worst thing was having those, 3 different panelists, against one person. If it's one-on-one with Roland Martin, keep it one-on-one, okay? But other than that, I saw people saying he was ambushed. Roland Martin is a coon, right? As why are you questioning his credentials and things like that? No, first of all, his credentials and his relationship to Frederick Douglass and everything, those were questioned before he went on Roland Martin. Those things were questioned before he went on Roland Martin. See, the thing about Lord Jamar and Roland Martin, I think they actually look at what people are saying, especially online, about Umar before they got him on. See, I think Roland Martin has a experience in journalism. I could be wrong. But I do think, say what you want about Roland Martin's. Yes, sometimes Roland Martin, I will be honest, there are certain things he does, maybe even he says, that kind of rub me the wrong way. But in Umar's case, the one who's scamming black people, mostly black people, poor single black mothers and women, taking advantage of them. He's scamming your money for over 10 years and hasn't built anything, and he keeps pushing back the dates. And he does this again in this interview. But everybody swore up and down Roland Martin was in the wrong. And this is why I was also very disappointed in Lovely T, because she's the one that says that she can't, you can't feed her ish and call it sugar. Well, Umar Johnson on that show fed everybody ish and called it sugar. And he was asking him about the credentials, his relationship to Frederick Douglass and everything like that. And he was just talking in circles and talking in a maze. And I'm like, people are still saying, man, Umar's the victim here? I feel almost sorry for these people. At this point, I don't know if I can feel sorry for people unless they're new. I really can't.
He asks, but somebody say, what are you doing with the leftover money? We're paying for security so people don't vandalize the property like they've already done. You understand? We have to pay for repairs. We have to pay taxes, upkeep, things of that nature. That's what we're doing with the extra money. The electric system has to be repaired. The plumbing system has to be repaired. We just paid for the roofs to be repaired. The carpentry has to be redone. You understand? We have to do the fire alarm system, the sprinkler system. We have to pay for the building permits. There's a lot of expenses. We have to pay for the grass to be cut. That's not cheap. We have to pay for the grounds to be monitored. There's a lot of cost that goes into maintaining 2 schools, not 1, 2. And for me, I'm happy because we were only looking to get 1 school, brother and sister. We ended up with 2. And to all those coons,
I thought you said 4. I thought you said 4 buildings. I thought you said what? You see what I mean? This man doesn't have a school or 2 schools or 3 schools or more schools or 4 schools. He has 2 or 1 at least abandoned trap house building, and it's not even up and functioning and running yet.
In troves,
not even accredited.
Are trash. Do you realize the 4 buildings we got are state-of-the-art modern schools? They are not old schools like the ones we went to. They are modern. That campus was renovated at a cost of...
They're so modern, but they need all these repairs?
In 2011, 9 years ago. And the only reason why we have to renovate is because the building was not secured by the previous owner, which allowed people to get in and do what? strict the electrical system.
I was about to say, steal the copper.
System, strict the HVAC system. Whenever you and Rod Digger ready, only you two and your other brother, Godfrey, y'all can drive on down and I will give you a tour. And when you walk through them schools, you tell me if those buildings is trash. First of all, the buildings are in excellent shape. Excellent shape. We just got an offer.
If the buildings are in such excellent shape, why do you need all this money? Why do you need over $1 million for repairs? If they're in such excellent shape, such modern buildings, they're so modern, and they're in excellent shape, why do you need all this money for repairs? And he mentions constantly how he constantly needs money to maintain and repair and everything, when at the end of the day, if you don't see his actions further and further along, the man is just thirsty for money. And like What Happened to Common Sense says, what Eli from What Happened to Common Sense says, all he knows how to do at this point is beg for money. There's no plan, there's no curriculum, there's no strategy. And of course, again, you're not going to put 100% of everything out there, especially on the internet. But I'm saying, Umar, you seem to be transparent about your feelings towards everything else. I don't understand why you can't be transparent with everything for a school, because apparently before you started asking for money, or what you said the school was going to be, you said, oh, we're going to teach military science. We're going to teach you how to grow your food and harvest your food and raise your own animals.
Here's where I share a little story.
Here we go. Lord Jamar is going to give an example of how it could work.
It just so happens that my wife's family has a lot of educators in it. Her sister is a principal of a school right now. Her mother was a teacher, and her father was and is a principal, who actually ended up making his own school in East New York, Brooklyn. It's called the Trey Whitfield School. You can look it up.
He gives a name. Notice that?
So
you can look it up.
He's been doing this since like 1983.
Wow.
And how he started was, he started small. He started with 3 portable trailers that were behind like a church. Nobody was doing anything with them, and he went to the church because he was a principal like you, and he said, I guess he got the same inspiration to start his own thing. So he talked to the people at the church. He ended up negotiating some sort of rent where he had to pay $500 a month per trailer. And he had like 280 kids. Now, he didn't have a lot of money. He didn't have a lot of donations and stuff like that. So what did he do? He said like a lot of schools and stuff, they would just throw out old desks and books and stuff like that. He'd go around to different schools and get desks. He'd go to the Board of Education. And,
working with other people, and getting resources where you can. Smart.
You know what I mean? That they didn't want books, whatever, all kind of different supplies. So he was using his resources. He did this till about the year 2000, where he then sees like a 4-story big ass building, something pretty comparable to what you're talking about. Actually, it might be bigger than, it might be like those buildings combined, the ones that you bought. But this is in Brooklyn, in East New York, like right off.
And rent is not cheap in New York.
So anyway,
real estate's not cheap in New York.
$1 for the building. But he goes to the man. He's like, I want to get this building for a school, and the guy's like, tell him whatever. I don't know, whatever the price was. And he's like, listen, I ain't got no money, but what I do have is I got a friend who's he's like the president of a bank or something like that, and he'll give me a loan, to renovate the place and all that. And if I miss any payments or something like that, then y'all will just have a free building renovated. You can take the building back, and you'll get the shit renovated for free. So he ended up getting in there, and that was in the year 2000. In the year 2020, and this school now has gone on. It's a black school. They don't take no government grants or nothing like that.
Independent black school.
fundraisers and all this. You know, he knows some people in the sports industry and all. You know, because he used to
Connections.
play football back in the day.
What's the name of the school?
It's called the Trey Whitfield School. Now, I talked to him. He's willing to sit down with you and you know, give you any tips or anything like that of how he did it. You know what I mean? And how he continues to do it. Because this man, and he's been on CNBC, all kind of other stuff like that. But the thing is, you know, he doesn't even have the type of notoriety that you have. You know what I mean? And yeah, this man was able to make it happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like this man was able to just put his thing, you know, into fruition, use his resources. So maybe we're feeling like, yo, you know, money is the answer for everything. But sometimes it's our resources. How about, yo, you know, could you donate your time or something to help, instead of the money to fix something? How about y'all come in and donate your time to help build up the school?
Lord Jamar gave a really good example of how you should use alternative ways of thinking to help you further in your goal. So the man, of course, started small. Worked his way up like we all do, or like most of us do in life. Let's just be real. Some people have a silver spoon, or a leg up or a connection. But this man used what resources he had from the bottom and then his connections from the top. See, Umar claims to know so many people, but why can't he get this thing going if he knows so many people? And he mentions this again further in this interview. But Lord Jamar says, hey, this guy who has experience in starting small and building, you know, a school from the ground up and from grassroots like Umar, you claim that you're doing. He had to start small with what he got, with the little money he had, or the money he just didn't have, and used his connections and his resources and people he knew and said, you know, let's start from here. Hell, Q Butter, he has a school out in Brooklyn right now. And it may not be the best, it may not be the most, it's not state of the art, but he has something going, at least an after school program. Then this is what I also recommended. It's best to start small and work your way up. I said, instead of buying this huge St. Paul's College campus, maybe it's also best, it would have been nice to have an HBCU back into the hands of Black people, but start small. You could have started with an after school program. You could have started with a community center. That building right now that he claims to own could have been better set up as more of a community center, even if you have to go through government. Because I've been to community centers that had after school programs, and that same community center had a summer program. So it's best to start small and work your way up.
Something like that. You see, it's not always about money. It's about the people that you know. It's about a lot of different things. You know, for $700,000, I feel like maybe we could have got a piece of land and just built from the ground up, and it could have been turned out cheaper. I don't know. We have to look into a lot of things, and this is a big undertaking that I feel like, you know, you might need some help with it, right?
Right. Well, a couple things. I want to deal with your assumption that I might need some help.
There we go.
Most of my friends are educators. Most of my
friends
are educators and psychologists. That is my field. So it's kind of interesting when someone who's an expert in something, and I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to the detractors. Who say I can help him with that. This is
I think they're talking about the real estate part of it. You're an educator, but not a real estate
Exactly.
guy. But we already have the real estate, so that's not even an issue.
Right, but did we choose the right real estate? Did we take the money and do the best fiduciary?
Here we go. Here he goes.
I just told you that the schools that we got was a $13 million project 9 years ago in excellent shape. We got to steal for that campus.
If it's such an excellent shape, why do you need money for repairs?
I have no regrets. Okay, that's when we start feeding into the lies. That's why you got to come.
No, you're the one who's lying, Umar.
Absolutely, see it for yourself, because you have people telling you that the school ain't in good shape. The school is in excellent.
People have went to the school, showed you pictures and videos of the school. It's not in good shape.
The classrooms don't even have to be touched. We just have to fix the electrical system, the HVAC system, and the plumbing system. So I don't need help with the real estate. We were blessed with that campus. You understand? And as far as your brother's school, I support
Father-in-law.
My father-in-law.
I just looked at the website.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to that brother.
Yes, sir.
What I'm doing ain't that. I want to be absolutely clear.
I actually checked the website too just now as I'm playing this, and I'm telling you, it looks like he has something established. A majority in there are black boys and black girls. He seems to be running this school pretty well. And this started from grassroots level. This is why I have a problem with Umar saying, I don't want to start small. Some of the HBCUs, now, some of the biggest colleges and universities, now started small. I think Howard started off with a little shack somewhere on a piece of land, and they grew from that. You may have to start small.
Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, RBG, International Leadership Academy will be America's first school based off the principles of Pan-African nationalism and international economics. That's not what I'm doing, bro. I have a totally different concept from him. You understand? So if
the concept could be different, but the implementation of how
it's help implementing, brother, because I'm a certified school psychologist and a certified school principal who's experienced, who got a whole cadre of educators.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you know the ins and outs of how to build and run a school in terms of, like, especially the money. That doesn't necessarily mean you are financially literate and economically savvy in how a school is supposed to be run and maintained. Okay? Trust me, you're not the first principal or the only principal who doesn't know how to run a school, though they think they can. And also, I found out a really good piece of information recently, right? If he does not have a 501c3, he can't run this. He can't do this.
See, I keep making these things. He needs to talk. No, I don't. Y'all don't know who I got.
Why is somebody, you have all these credentials, then why is this man who we don't know was able to put his school together in a few months, and it's taking you 6 years?
10 years. Gas, Lord Jamar.
There's nothing for a school. I can show you 10 charter schools where the money is coming from the state, and it took them almost a decade to get over.
Name them. Name them.
Open up a school in a year or two. I don't know your brother's story, and I don't care to know it. I don't care.
Deflection. Look at that. Look at how emotionally he gets. This is the person you want in charge of your kids?
Brother, I have friends who own schools.
I thought you didn't have any friends, Umar. If you remember one of his live videos, and Lennon Honor broke this down. He said, I have to do this all by myself, and I have to do this by myself. I have to do the work myself because I don't have any friends. I thought you didn't have any friends, Umar. What are you talking about?
Do you understand that? I have friends who own schools. So if I need to talk to someone who owns a school, I already got that. I got what I need.
So why can't you get further in your endeavors?
From my equation, there's enough funds to complete the task. That's it. That's it.
It's just about the money.
The school is not open yet because I don't have enough funds to do it that way. I'm not going to no bank.
Maybe we need fundraising, different fundraising methods.
Here's where he goes insane.
You have that in place, but what I want you to understand, it takes time to build institutions.
Here we go again. It was one of the excuses. Lennon Honor did a video called The Top 10 Excuses Umar Johnson Supporters Give Umar for the School Scam. Oh, well, it takes time to build a school. It doesn't take 10 to 15 years. Again, school stuffing as big as this or big as what he wants does not happen overnight. But I know other people right now, I guarantee you, like Q Butter and the Trey Whitfield School. It's kind of started from one tiny seed and it grew. You have to start small in some of your endeavors. Like I'm telling you, this guy with his grandiosity, this grandiose view of himself.
I ain't got no problem with where we are. I'm loving where we at.
Loving where you are, but you need more money though.
We got our electrician chosen. I'm meeting with my HVAC this weekend.
I don't believe he has any of these.
Standby roofer did his job. Carpenter lined up. We doing what we need to do on the time frame we doing it at. I don't need no help outside of the team I got, which is filled with experts from the East Coast to the West Coast, bro.
Oh my God, lies! I don't believe those are true.
Brother. I mean, these are definitely the answers that people want to know. They want to
I'm not interested in people. I'm interested in donors, brother.
Oh, that is it. If that doesn't tell you, if that right there does not tell you his true intentions, I don't know what will. I really don't know what will. He said he doesn't care about people, but people are the ones that are donating to you. I don't care about people. I care about donors. In other words, I don't care about the questions. I'm not going to be transparent. I just want the money. And at this point, that's just what it is. I don't know how else to describe it. All this man wants to do and all he can do is beg for money. And like I've always said, either this man is a fraud, which I believe he is, or if you just don't want to believe he's a fraud, then you have to at least say he's a terrible, bad businessman. That's what it is.
Yeah, but in order for you to get donors, though, you're gonna have to satisfy these. Yes, brother.
You have to, yes.
Donors. If you don't decide, if I'm disagree with you, listen. If I'm considering to be a donor, but I have certain questions.
Here you go. Here we go.
I want answered. I feel like that's legitimate.
Can I tell you why that's bullshit?
See?
Go
ahead, please.
Respectfully.
Respectfully.
You've been raising money for 6.5 years, brother. If you ain't donut by now, you ain't donating. Your question don't matter.
There it is. The disrespect.
No. You can't assume that in the 6 years everybody knows what you're doing.
Hang on. Let me interject here. I think
donate by now, you ain't gonna donate, and that's all right with me.
Well, what if they didn't know about it? What if they're just finding out about it?
Hang on. Let me interject to both of you guys' points. To you, brother Umar, I think what for a lot of people that may be naysayers or detractors.
I don't care about these naysayers.
But listen, hang on. I don't want you to focus on them. But imagine someone who may just be, who may just be getting acclimated to your situation.
Exactly.
Somebody could just be.
Not everybody knows you. I've heard people say that they just found out about him in 2017 or 2018. There are people who are just knowing who this guy is. But guess who? But guess his grandiosity always gets in the way. Listen.
To try to get more information, they're seeing they're not getting. I guess they're not getting the answers they feel like they to the questions that they want to ask, but they may possibly want to donate, or I'm not referring to the people that's just like, oh, what's he doing? I'm not referring to those.
These are new people.
I'm referring to people that are legitimately believing in your cause.
Like I once did, like Psych Perspective once did, like E&J once did.
I agree with you, Queen, but to that I'll say this quickly. I'm the most accessible black scholar in the world.
Here we go. Grandiosity.
My
lies.
cell number is public. My email is public. And guess what? I do get emails from people. Doc, I just learned about you. Boom, boom, boom. Tell me about the school. We just started a loyal donors campaign the other day.
Cult followers campaign. That's what that is.
Interested in signing up, please do. The Loyal Donors Club.
Cult followers sheeple club. That's what that is.
$50 a month for bronze, $100 a month for silver, $250 a month for gold, $500 a month for platinum, and $1,000 a month for diamond. We just started that 48 hours ago. Anybody who wants those links, text my cell number, please. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. They will also be put in a WhatsApp group where they will get all the updates that they want. For those who can't afford to make a consistent donation, they can go to the Cashapp, $FDMG School, or the PayPal, FDMG Academy, or mail in the check or money order. They can text me for the address. It's also on the website. Here's what I would say to that, Sister Rob. They do reach out to me, and they do ask me questions, and I answer the questions. Here's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's a lie. Because like I said, Real GSTV2 said, oh, I've donated to this guy and I tried to get into contact with him and I can't get him. So there are donors out there who have tried to who have tried to reach out to you and ask you some questions and they're not getting him. And there's a guy by the name of C Rock Smooth, man. I'm telling you, I should do another video on this. This guy, I'm telling you, is an Umar apologist and an Umar caper. And he says that he's been caping for Umar for about 9 months. And I'm assuming he's new to Umar, so it's definitely easier to see why he may be caping for him, because he's kind of new. So I can't really shame too hard, or I can't really criticize heavily the new people. Because when you're new to something, you don't really know the full stuff until you start seeing their true colors, and time will tell. But Umar is further and further showing you who he really is. And there's a saying that goes, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Okay?
A lot of the questions that are being posed, right? And I understand where Brother Jamar coming from, because he's just being the vessel to bring it to me. I get it. Okay, I understand that. So we on the square together. But those are coming from haters.
No, legitimate questions from people who might want to donate. Haters.
I'm probably the most.
He's done this before in the past. And I think I mentioned this earlier in this video. He did this before in the past. People who have legitimate questions, or people who were donors or considering donating, or who are current donors or supporters, they want to know some things and have questions that they may be unsure of. Okay, I always ask questions when I'm introduced to something new, and see, okay, well, how does this work? How do I do this? This sounds good, but how does it actually work? This person, he's been known to deflect, again, call them, oh, he's a hater, he's a reactionary, he's a this, he's a that. If you're not blindly giving him money with no questions asked, this man always has or is always reactionary to your criticisms or questions, and you're automatically a hater. That should tell you about him right there.
Influential and accomplished black school psychologist in American history. Not probably.
Lies. But Umar, not everybody knows you. See, his ego, and trust me, he's really, even Tariq Nasheed called this out, and I'm not the biggest Tariq Nasheed fan at all, but Tariq Nasheed called this out and said, oh, in every group there's always a David Ruffin and a Bobby Brown and an Eddie Kane Jr. This man is cocky AF, and people have called him arrogant before. That was the first thing that I heard about him in regards to criticizing him and calling and exposing him, that he's arrogant. And we see it further and further. I'm the most requested. I'm the best. I'm the most educated scholar. I speak around the world more than any educated scholar. I've talked around the world. I have more videos than any other scholar. Not everybody knows who you are. I guarantee I can ask you one regular schmegular person. I even heard from Monty Woodgrain that there are people in his hometown of Philly that don't even know who he is. But he's the most requested, well-known. And you should know who he is. And if you don't, you're a liar. What? Look at that. This is who people want, in charge of their children? And by the way, he can't even take care, and he doesn't even take care of his own kids. But he wants to tell you that he's best for your kids.
I am. If you got a child with special ed, they've been ADHD, conduct disorder, I'm the person you came to. I've been doing this work for over 20 years. My name is etched in stone. There is no such thing as I just woke up and heard about you. You're going to get some people like that, but most of our people know who I am because I help them save their kids or their children.
And you can't even save your kids?
Wake up yesterday.
You haven't paid child support for your own children that you have by 2 different women? 2 to 3?
Absolutely.
You understand? So
some people just woke up, though. Everybody not.
Thank you, Rod Digger.
Even if you're not in the conscious community, you know who I am.
Not true.
I don't belong to the conscious community. I belong to the African race. I'm the most requested black scholar in the world.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh my
gotta
gosh.
understand how many people don't even
But they're not
know about scholars.
That's what I'm
like they're so far removed
They're
from.
not asking the negative questions, Jamar. The new people are not asking the negative questions.
Because they don't really know you too much to ask those.
But I'm saying, is it a negative question to want transparency?
Thank you, no!
You just want to know what's going on.
Bro, what transparency you talking about? We raised the money we bought the school. What transparency you talking about? We raised the money a little bit less.
I can't.
What transparency you talking about? You think I'm going to put the school bank account on YouTube?
Come on, Umar. You know that's not what we're asking for.
You think I'm going to put the school bank account on Instagram? You watch your damn mind.
I think they maybe want more of a timeline.
Exactly. For over 10 years?
No.
Look at that. See, when you ask the tough questions, he gets like this.
Here's what we got to do, though, brother.
Listen.
No. It's not about catering to the hate. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. Okay? We have to make sure we have to vet all of our people, bro. I got love for you, bro.
then vet them other Negroes in the conscious community.
Deflection.
Shit.
Deflection.
We're gonna get to them all, bro.
Look at this. Look at this.
We're gonna get to them all.
Jamar, don't discriminate.
Somebody built the institution from the grass.
I can name a few more than you.
Got none of them. None of you super doing what I'm doing. Any of them conscious do. Any one on my left. Any one feels it. It's crazy.
Wow.
I can't. All I can name is my father-in-law.
How many they kept out of jail, bro?
Wow. This is the person who's capable of leading and building for your children. Wow.
In the conscious movement, built an institution. Answer that. Nobody. I'm the only one in my generation doing.
Wow.
Well, you're building it. You're building it.
No, he's not.
Not built.
Don't you worry about it. You be the first one there. Trust me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Listen. Let's move. I want to talk about your book real quick.
Wow.
Let's talk about your book.
I'm just going to stop it right there, and I might do another video talking about the next half of this, because I just really wanted to get to the main point of this video. This was shameful. This was nearly the same attitude he gave, I think it was with Vicky Dillard, or a woman on another radio podcast interview where she asked him about his credentials, because she says, hey, I like to do my research and I like to look into people. And she was very calm and patient with him, and he was doing nothing but talking in circles about his credentials and about his degrees and about everything. And he tried to deflect by saying, hey, I'm building more than everybody. Why are you asking me all these questions? I'm building more than other people, and I don't see you questioning them. That is the problem with Umar. But this is the person that says he's doing better than everybody else, and he's more capable of raising or taking care of other people's children and educating other people's children, and he can't even control his temper. And he claims that he's a psychologist, but as a psychologist or a therapist, you're supposed to be calm, you're supposed to be level-headed, you're definitely supposed to not pass judgment, and he defies all of those. He is the polar opposite of all of those. This man, I think, is definitely more interested in hype, fame, clout, accolades, positive reviews on him, and solely the money. And that's it. And of course, self-interest. This is one of the reasons he likes to go on podcasts and radio shows where they don't really dig deep and ask the tough questions, because it's easygoing. And this is why I really give a side eye to the Breakfast Club, because that's how you know the Breakfast Club, and this is no disrespect to them, but the Breakfast Club is more of an entertainment platform than always it is an educational platform, even though sometimes they have good interviews. But other times it's like, it seems like they're just bringing on anyone with a following and bring them to their bigger platform, and they bring them to their big platform and, just do and say whatever. And I feel like they literally like to pick and choose who they like to give the hard questions to. I really do think that. So that's how you know it's more of an entertainment platform than an educational one at times. And this is why I was so upset that people were having Umar's back after the Roland Martin interview, because Roland Martin went in and asked the questions about things that were being asked before he even got on Roland Martin. So yeah, for now, thank you for tuning in. I hope you stayed this long. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you did, tell me what you think about this whole thing in the comments. If you heard or saw the podcast or the Godcast, tell me your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will definitely be coming back with a further breakdown of what other people had to say, like former donors and current donors, as well as other people who have made their commentary on this podcast. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.